Most English that you see and hear will use the same basic and common words. Knowing these words will help you to understand English easier and quicker because these are words that you will see and use in everyday life. That's why in today's English lesson, I am going to show you 100 English words that you can use in everyday life. These are the second 100 most common words in English. For each word, I will show you the pronunciation, the meaning, and an example sentence. So if you're ready to improve your vocabulary and English speaking skills, let's get started. The first word is over. Over means above or higher than something. For example, they climbed over the wall. Over can also mean more than. For example, he speaks over 10 languages. The next word is new. New is an adjective which means something that was made or created very recently. For example, have you seen his new car? The next word is sound. Sound is a noun which means something that you can hear or something that can be heard. For example, did you hear all the weird sounds last night? Sound can also be used as a verb, which means to make a noise. For example, you sound like a native speaker. This means you make sounds like a native speaker. The next word is take. Take is a verb which means to remove something from a place. For example, he always takes cookies without asking. Take can also mean to have or to accept. For example, they don't take credit cards here. This means you cannot use your credit card here. The next word is only. We use the word only to show that something cannot be more than what we just said or what we just wrote. For example, only 2 people can go. This means not more than 2 people can go. The next word is little. Little is an adjective which means small. For example, they have a little dog. Little can also mean young. For example, when she was little, she had some really cute shoes. The next word is work. Work is an activity that someone does by using physical or mental effort to achieve something or to do something. Work is normally done for money. For example, what kind of work do you do? Work can also mean the place where you do your job or your work. For example, where is your work? The next word is know. Know means to have knowledge of something, to have information about something in your mind. For example, I know how to speak English. The next word is place. Place is a position or an area such as a building or a town. For example, which places do you want to visit? The word place can also be used as a noun to mean home. For example, I really love your place. That means I really love your home. Place can also be used as a verb, which means to put something somewhere. For example, place the bottle here, please. The next word is year. A year is how we measure time. 1 year has 365 days or 12 months, and it normally starts on the 1st of January and finishes on the 31st of December. For example, he worked there for 2 years. The next word is live. The word live is normally used as a verb and it means to be alive. For example, I want to live until I'm 100 years old. Live can also mean the place where your home is. For example, I live in Australia. The next word is me. The word me is used as the object of a sentence to talk about the person who is speaking or the person who is writing. For example, what did you say to me? The next word is back. Back is the opposite of the front of something. For example, what you see on the screen right now is a person's back. Back can also be used as an adverb, which means to go towards a previous time or a previous place. For example, what time did you get back home last night? The next word is give. Give means to offer something to someone or to something. For example, what did she give you for your birthday? The next word is most. Most means almost all. For example, most people like eating ice cream. Most can also be used to mean not more than anyone else. For example, I want to give the most money to charity. This means I don't want anyone else to give more money than me. The next word is very. Very means extremely or to a high degree. We use the word very to add emphasis or to make something stronger. For example, I am very tired. I am tired is here, and I am very tired is up here. The next word is after. After means following something or at a later date or time in the future. For example, what do you want to do after dinner? This means dinner is here, following dinner is here, so what do you want to do here? The next word is thing. Thing means object. We use the word thing when we don't want to say the name of the object we are talking about. For example, what is that thing? The next word is our or our. We use this word to show that something belongs to us. We own something. For example, it's our house. The next word is just. Just has many meanings. One of the main meanings of just means very soon or very recently. For example, I just got to work when the phone rang. This means very soon after I got to work, the phone rang. The second main meaning of just is almost or almost not. For example, I just got there in time. This means I almost didn't get there in time. The third main meaning of just is only. For example, I was just joking. This means I was only joking. I wasn't doing anything more than joking, and I wasn't doing anything less than joking. I was only joking. The next word is name. The word name is a noun, which means the word or the words that you use to call something or someone. For example, my name is Shane. Name can also be used as a verb to mean to give someone or something a word to call them. For example, they want to name their daughter Jenny. The next word is good. I think everyone knows the meaning of the word good, but we can use the word good to talk about something that is satisfactory or enjoyable. For example, do you know any good restaurants? The next word is sentence. The word sentence means a group of words which normally has a subject, a verb, and an object. For example, I think you need to write that sentence again. The next word is man. A man is an adult male, which is what you see on the screen right now. A man is the opposite of a woman. For example, did you see the man in the suit? The next word is think. The word think is a verb which means to have an idea or an opinion about something or someone. For example, what did you think about the movie? The next word is say. The word say means to produce words or sounds from the mouth. For example, what did you say? But please note that we say, they say, we say, I say, but we say he says, she says. The next word is great. Great means very good. For example, English Understood is a great YouTube channel. The next word is where. The word where is a question word that we can use to ask about the location of a place. For example, where is the restaurant? The word where can also be used to give more information about a place. For example, have you been to that restaurant where they serve that really good chocolate cake? The next word is help. Help means to make something easier for someone to do. For example, how can I help you? The next word is through. Through is a preposition which means in and then out of, from one side to the other side. For example, I went through the tunnel last night. The next word is much. Much means many or a large amount. For example, she spends too much money on shopping. Much can also be used to ask about the amount or the quantity of something. For example, how much money do you make every year? The next word is before. Before means at a time earlier than the time you talked about. For example, what do you do before work? The next word is line. The word line means a long, thin mark on something. For example, the lines on the road are white. A line can also mean what you see on the screen right now. A group of people standing behind each other who are waiting for something. The next word is right. The word right has two main meanings. The first meaning is an adjective which means correct. For example, you got the answer right. This means you got the answer correct. The second main meaning is the opposite of left. For example, go straight and then turn right. The next word is to. The word to means more than is needed or more than is wanted. For example, you ordered too many cakes. The next word is mean. The word mean is used to show something as an idea or as a sentence. For example, what does this word mean? Mean can also be used to describe someone who is not nice, someone who is very unkind. For example, Jenny is very mean. The next word is old. Old means something that has lived or existed for a very long time. For example, she is an old woman. The next word is any. Any means some. Any means a number which we do not know which is more than 0. For example, does he have any apples? This means I am not asking how many apples he has. I am just asking, does he have one or more than one apple? Please note that we normally use any in questions. For example, does he have any apples? And in negative sentences when we want to say no. For example, he doesn't have any apples. The next word is same. The word same means not different. The word same means similar. For example, the boys look the same. The next word is tell. Tell means to say something to someone. We use the word tell when one person says something to another person. For example, what did you tell him? The next word is boy. Boy means a male child. For example, do you know how many boys he has? The next word is follow. Follow is normally used as a verb, which means to go in the same direction as someone or to travel behind someone. For example, follow me down to the petrol station. The next word is came. Came is the past tense verb of the word come. Come means to move from a position towards the speaker. For example, he came over last night. The next word is want. Want means to wish for or to desire something. For example, he wants to buy a new car. The next word is show. Show means to make it possible for something to be seen. For example, show me your new phone. The next word is also. Also means in addition to or to. T-O-O. For example, I have a dog and I also have a cat. The next word is around. Around means on every side of something or surrounding something. For example, there are mountains all around us. Around can also mean about or approximately. For example, I have around 5 pairs of shoes. The next word is form. Form is normally a noun, which means a piece of paper with blank spaces where you can give information to questions. For example, the insurance form has a lot of questions. The next word is 3. The word 3 is the number before 4 and after 2. For example, I can speak 3 languages. The next word is small. The word small means little in size when you compare that thing to something that is normal for that thing. For example, they are small bananas. The next word is set. Set can be used as a verb, which means to put something somewhere. For example, he set the cutlery on the table. Set can also be used to mean a group of things which belong together. For example, I want to get that furniture set. The next word is put. The word put means to move something into a specific place or location. For example, where did you put your keys? The next word is end. The word end means the last part of something or something that is furthest from the center. For example, we are at the end of the queue. The next word is does. Does is the he, she, it form of the verb do. We normally use does with singular subjects except for I and you. For example, all he does is play computer games all day. The next word is another. The word another means one more person or one more thing. We use the word another when we already have something and then we want one more. For example, can I have another piece of cake? This means I have already eaten one or more than one piece of cake. Now I want one more. I want another piece of cake. The next word is well. Well is an adverb which means in a good way. We use the word way when we want to describe how someone or something does something. For example, he speaks English really well. The next word is large. The word large means big. For example, they have a large house. The next word is must. We use the word must to show that something is necessary or very important. For example, you must show your passport at the airport. This means it is necessary for you to show your passport at the airport. It must be done. There is no choice. The next word is big. Big is the opposite of small. Big means large. Big means of considerable size. For example, he has big muscles. The next word is even. Even has many meanings. One of the main meanings of even is to show that something can be divided in two. For example, 10 is an even number. This is because we can take 10 and put it into two groups. The second main meaning of even is to show that something is surprising to us or unusual. For example, they haven't even been to New York. We use even to show that we are surprised that they haven't been to New York. We think it's very unusual. The next word is such. We use the word such before an adjective to make it stronger, to give it more emphasis. For example, he is such a nice person. He is a nice person is here, and he is such a nice person is up here. The next word is because. Because means for the reason that. We use the word because to show a reason for something. For example, I went there because of the food. Why did I go there? What was the reason for me going there? It was the food. The food was the reason. The next word is turn. Turn can be used as a verb, which means to change direction, normally in a circular motion like this. For example, when you get to the traffic lights, turn left. Turn can also be used as a noun, which means an opportunity to do something. For example, is it my turn in the game yet? The next word is here. The word here means in, at, or on this position. For example, I have filmed many of my videos right here. The next word is why. Why is a question word that we can use to ask the reason for something. For example, why are you learning English? This means we want to know the reason for you learning English. The next word is ask. The word ask means to say something to someone, to get an answer to a question, or to get information. For example, ask your teacher if you don't understand. The next word is went. Went is the past form of the verb go. Go means to travel to a place. For example, they went to the beach last weekend. The next word is men. Men is the plural form of the noun man. That means when you use the word men, you need to be talking about more than one man. For example, can all the men in the room stand up, please? The next word is read. The word read means when you look at symbols or words and you understand their meaning. For example, he likes to read the newspaper on Friday. The next word is need. The word need means you must have something or you want it very badly. For example, I need to see a doctor. The next word is land. The word land means an area of ground which is not covered by water. For example, they want to buy a piece of land near the ocean. The next word is different. The word different means not the same as. So if two things are different, that means they are not the same. For example, those two restaurants serve different food. The next word is home. Home is normally used to mean the place where you sleep and where you eat and where you spend most of your time, normally with your family. For example, I'll be home after 4 p.m. The next word is us. Us is used as the object of a sentence to talk about more than one person, which includes the speaker. For example, could you give us some more time? That means I and the person or people that I am with need more time. The next word is move. The word move means to change the position or the location of something or someone. For example, please move to the waiting room. The next word is try. The word try means to attempt to do something. For example, he likes to try lifting heavy weights. The next word is kind. The word kind is an adjective which means generous, friendly, and considering the feelings of others. Kind is the opposite of mean. For example, he is a kind person. Kind can also mean the type or a group of people or things which are similar. For example, I like all kinds of music. The next word is hand. This is your hand. For example, I write with my left hand. The next word is picture. A picture is a painting, a photograph, a drawing, or an image created by someone. For example, the program lets you create amazing pictures. The next word is again. The word again means one more time. So if you do something again, that means you have already done that thing before in the past. For example, let's go on that roller coaster again. The next word is change. The word change can mean to make something become different. The word change can also mean to exchange one thing for another thing or to swap things. Normally when those two things are similar. An example sentence could be, he always likes to change his clothes after he finishes his workout. The next word is off. The word off means when something is not working or operating because it is not switched on. For example, turn the TV off. Off can also mean when something goes away from a place or a position. For example, you should take your jumper off because it's really hot. The next word is play. Play can mean when you do something that is enjoyable, something that you think is fun. For example, the mother loves to play with her children. We can also use the word play to mean to do a sport. For example, he likes to play soccer. The next word is spell. The word spell means when we put letters into the correct order to make a word. For example, how do you spell this word? The next word is air. Air is the gases on the earth that we breathe. For example, I love going to the mountains to get some fresh air. The next word is away. The word away means at a distance from a place or from a thing. For example, we went away from the house. The house is here. We are here. There is a distance between the two things. We went away from the house. The next word is animal. An animal is normally something that is living, that eats, that breathes, that can see, that can hear, and something that can reproduce. For example, an elephant is a very big animal. The next word is house. House is a noun which means a building where people live, eat, and sleep. For example, your house is beautiful. The next word is point. Point can have many meanings. One meaning is when you do this. For example, in some cultures, when you point, it's rude. Point can also be used as a noun, which means an idea or an opinion. For example, I don't understand your point. Could you explain it again, please? The next word is page. A page is one side of a sheet of paper in a magazine, a newspaper, a book, or any other thing that has sheets of paper. For example, the book has 50 pages. The next word is letter. A letter is a written symbol that we can use to write or type the sounds of a language. For example, English has 26 letters. A letter is also something that you write which is sent in an envelope in the post. For example, she sent me a very long letter. The next word is mother. A mother is a female parent. For example, I haven't met your mother yet. The next word is answer. The word answer can be used as a verb to mean to respond to a question. For example, you didn't answer my question. Answer can also be used as a noun. For example, what is the answer? The next word is found. The word found is the past tense form of the word find. Find means to discover something. For example, I can't believe you found my pen. I lost it 5 years ago. The next word is study. Study means to do something which helps you to learn something. For example, how often do you study English? The next word is still. The word still has several meanings. One of the main meanings is to show that something started in the past and it's still happening now. For example, I'm still working as a teacher. Another meaning of still is something that is not moving. For example, the lake is so still. The next word is learn. The word learn means to get knowledge about a specific topic, subject, or activity. For example, I like to learn about computers. The next word is should. We use the word should to give advice and to tell someone what we think the best thing to do is. For example, if you want to lose weight, you should exercise. The next word is America. The word America normally means the United States of America, the country that you can see on the screen right now. It can also mean the continents, North America or South America. For example, I can't wait to go to America next year. The next word is world. The word world means the earth, including all countries and all people. For example, the world is an amazing place.